What we're doing today is just going to replace this is actually a touchscreen on a G6, G7. They're all pretty similar, whether they're touch, non-touch. There's this black tape that is a nightmare to mess with, and if you don't do it right, it can really create some issues. So I was just going to walk you through kind of how I do it. I'm sure there's 50 billion ways to do it, and I'm sure people are going to comment and make fun of how I do it, but I figured I'd at least share how I do it. And if there are some tips that people want to point out, please do. But yeah, I just figured I would at least share what I know at this point anyway. So one of the things I do when I first get started is I come back behind it and try to ease this little clip off. You want to be a little careful. It's super easy to break those, so I found that using this little iFixit tool is really one of the best ways to ease this off, and actually a lot of the other parts as well. But so I just will slowly crack that, because then when we flip this over and we're gonna have to get the screen off, that part being already loose is going to help us. Obviously you can see that the screen is broken, damaged. That is something that happens quite a bit in the school system. The little kiddie poos accidentally dropping them or whatever the deal is. But anyway, we're going to work on getting it fixed, so I'll let it get to the point where I can turn it off. Some people like to leave the screen on just so that they can disconnect it. I don't know. Me personally, I always try to turn it off once it gets all the way booted. But basically what I'm doing is I'm slowly going to loosen these up. You want to be real careful. This area right here and then up here has a tendency to break if you rush it. So I just try to slowly loosen up the bits and pieces along this. There's basically a thin layer of black tape that keeps this connected, in addition to the little prongs that keep it snapped in. At this point, it's been on long enough. I usually just hit power, I'll hit tab, and then enter, and it should turn off the screen for us. But yeah, I'll just slowly work my way around. I think the key to not breaking these is just trying to go slow. If you get in a hurry, this little border around here will snap. So we're just gonna slowly work our way around it. Slowly work the tip of this little knife tool under. There's like this adhesion. If you'll kind of go slow and work your way, you can kind of hear it loosening up. And then obviously there's little parts that are gonna slowly snap as well. When you get next to this area right here, this is actually where the webcam is. Be careful, because there's a little mechanism there that you can mess up. And there we go. Just had to work my way around it. Again, the key to a lot of this is just taking your time. You can rush through it, obviously, and get done a lot quicker, but it's been my experience when you do that, it has a tendency. This is the area that I always worry about breaking right through here. It's just super, I don't know, it's very delicate right there. So again, you're just going to take your time, working slowly. A lot of times I'll end up having to rotate this around a little bit. But yeah, as I get closer, it's still a little stuck with all the glue. So I'll come in here, loosen this area up just a little bit too. You can kind of hear it start to pop and snap. I'm going to come back and slowly, again, work through this glue. And right here is where you're going to have a tendency to snap it and break the frame. I mean, you can put it back together. It isn't end of the world, but just to keep it looking nice, I just try to go really slow through there. And then when you get here, what you're going to find is underneath this section, there's this black tape that is connected to the monitor underneath. You want to make sure that you're above that layer as you start to move forward and snap this part up. Again, just going slow, very slow. You're trying to loosen the glue and pop the little snaps there. You can kind of hear it. Then when you get about midway, I don't know why, but there's this place where that black film underneath will separate, so I always try to take my time. It's right there, and that's what's happening. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. Got it. It'll actually separate, and now the black tape that's typically connected to the monitor will actually end up sticking to the top of this plastic platform. You kind of have to mess with it a little bit. I'm going to flip this around just to make it just a little easier to deal with as we come this way. Obviously, you just got to try to get it in a comfortable position. Again, right here where I'm pulling this up, I don't know if you can see, but it really puts a lot of pressure right in there. So you'll just want to take your time, ease it up. You can even come in here ahead of time. You know, again, it depends on how much time you have. If you have a bunch of them, you know, you may just try to risk it. But if you come through and kind of just pre-lift up some of this and the snap, even though the tape's there, it does loosen it up just a little bit, and you're less likely to break it. Kind of here too. I'm going to wait and finish that one here in a second. But anyway, we'll get back, and then, yeah, you're just slowly going. Boom. We got past that place where typically it would break. So I'm trying to get all the glue off and then slowly pop these snaps. Obviously, we're not worried about the screen. So if that gets a little scratched, because it's ruined anyway, but all right. Slowly, again, now we're getting to this area, like right in there where it can break. Hopefully it doesn't do it in this, but just going really, really slow, trying to not put a lot of pressure, let the glue and adhesion slowly pop off. Under here, it's kind of that same thing. You want to make sure that the black tape is below your knife. Slowly pop that up. We're getting close now. And then I'm going to have to reach across and slowly pop this up. Boom. There we go. So the cool thing is now this little piece right here is going to come up. So I'll flip it back around. And we've basically got the whole deal up. This piece right here, the little plastic tabs have a tendency to break off. So that's why in the beginning I pop it from the back, and then as this comes up, it'll come off with it. And then slowly I'm gonna work it off. And then what's nice is now that it's off of here, it's still attached. If you flip it over, you can see pretty clearly these little connection points. And I just slowly work it back and forth until it will snap off. Then I just set it off to the side while I go ahead and work on getting this screen off. This is the part that will drive you absolutely nuts. Obviously, I powered it back on accidentally. I hit the button. It's easy to do. But this part's where it's really tricky. Now, there's several ways I'm sure you can do it, and a lot of different tools. One of the things is I've got this little flathead screwdriver. It's not real big. I've tried a lot of different ways, but this seems to really work well. And then it's really, really hard to see. I don't know if you can even see it, but obviously on yours that you're working on, you'll be able to see. But right in this area, there is this teeny little piece of this black tape that is sticking out. And so what I have found is I will take my screwdriver, I try to loosen it just a little bit to get it off the back of the Chromebook, and then I'll take it and slowly wrap it around the screwdriver. This stuff is crazy sticky. Like if you were gonna be falling off a building and you needed something to secure you, this tape is what you would want to adhere to your body and the bricks. But anyway, so what you'll do is you're slowly just turning this, and then you're going to get a pretty decent amount of it. And then what it is you'll get to the thicker part of this black tape. Let me see here. I'm going to turn it this way now and see as you pull. And I'll kind of have to put the Chromebook up against my chest as I'm doing this. But basically what it is, once you get to this point, you can slowly grab the tape, but I mean, I would go super slow. You can feel it slowly releasing. If you go too quick and it snaps in there, it is a pain in the butt to get out. So anyway, you'll slowly pull. You can kind of feel it coming loose, and then eventually it will snap, and you're like, thank goodness. And I don't know why, but if it's gonna break, and then of course you just have to unwrap it off of here, which this stuff is so sticky it's hard to even get off of your screwdriver. I'll finish that up later. But here is that tape, man. This stuff is so daggone sticky. This is what you want in a life and death situation if you're dangling, because it will not release. Now, what I found, and I don't know why, but the second one tends to break more than the first one, and I'm not sure why that is, but I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to kind of get in here. Let me back up a little bit. I'm going to loosen it as much as possible from underneath, and then I'm going to slowly attach to it. Now, if I start to pull and there's it's too narrow here, that's when it tends to snap. So I will kind of wind this up a little bit more, slowly pull, wind, and then you get to this point where it's the thickness all the way down the screen. At this point, that's where you're usually good. Again, I'll just use my chest, slowly start to pull. You can kind of hear it releasing. At this point, if it snaps, it isn't end of the world, because you can kind of work your way over to it from the other side, but it's still not great. The screen breaks everywhere, and you just got to be careful you don't want to break the Chromebook, obviously. But slow, like this stuff goes forever. Boom. There we go. Finally got that off. I'll get it off my screwdriver later. Again, it's crazy trying to get it off of there, but yeah, this stuff is unbelievably strong. So now at this point, of course, you just simply flip it over, and this is where you just got to be a little careful. I try to preserve this tape because we're just going to reuse it and stick it back down. So I've got a little tool come in a kit that we had gotten years ago, and it's definitely a tool that I use quite a bit when working on these Chromebooks for different parts and pieces. But anyway, you'll slowly peel that back. Then there's this little latch right here. Be careful. You want to pop that up, and then you'll slowly work it back and forth until it comes out. And then, boom, we'll get rid of this screen. Then we got a shiny new screen over here, touch screen. What we're going to do is come in here, and we're just going to do this in reverse order. Again, just be super careful. There's a lot of these pins, and you could really misalign it. Take your time. Again, I think everything with these is about taking your time. I'm sure there's people going, oh my gosh, you're going so slow, but I'd really rather take my time and do it right than break it. So anyway, then I just come back in, pop this clip back down. Boom. That's all aligned back. We're going to do that. Now, one of the other things is this stuff. So when you pop it out, you've taken out that black tape. You can obviously get some more double-sided tape. I know it sounds crazy, and I'm sure people are going to kill me on this, but I put in just a little bit of this Elmer's glue because it's super easy to break the seal if on the off chance it gets broken again, I'll just put like a little dab in the corners, and then because this isn't like super glue or something, the screen will actually pop out, but it just gives it a little extra protection. Really, the way it works is there's so much glue and other stuff that normally these won't pop back out, but in the off chance that you had to take it back out, that glue will pop loose as you're working it loose a second time. I've only had to replace one of these once, and it wasn't terrible with that glue, but it just makes me feel a little better. Obviously you can get that double-sided tape, but the problem is it makes it really hard to get back under there and get it unless you have that replacement 3M stuff, whatever it is, and we don't have any of that. So I just do the best I can. So anyway, this is all back in, and then I'm going to take my time. There's this cable you have to route back through. Be careful, you don't want to create a short in it or whatever. So you just slowly put it back in. Now the other thing is, obviously, before putting this all back together, you're going to want to power it back on, make sure that it's actually going to come on, that this screen isn't damaged or works properly, and then obviously remove that film. Last thing you want to do is put it all back together and realize you had the film on it. Honestly, I've just done this so much. Really, you should have tested it before putting a little bit of dab of glue on it, but these screens, they're usually money. They're replacements that we get. So I don't know if you can see, but it's powering back on. Everything looks good. So I'm gonna do, this is obviously touch, so I wanna test it. That looks good. I'm gonna do the shutdown. Everything looks good on this now. So obviously now what we're gonna do is work our way backwards. Inevitably, it's probably hard to see with my gloves, but like one of these little tabs snapped off, but you know, for the most part it went smoothly. I always just double check, make sure there isn't any little parts and pieces hanging off that can mess it up when I go to put it back on. Now of course I'm going to do this in reverse order. I'm going to set that back aside, kind of double check this, make sure there aren't any little parts and pieces hanging off that will make it like, it'll kind of create a little bubble in there if there is a little broken piece hanging around. So now I'm just gonna slide this back in slowly. Then normally what I'll do is kind of flip this around, and then I'll start to work from the top. It usually snaps in a lot easier. Again, when you get over by where the webcam part is, just slowly snap it in. As this gets snapped in, then I'm going to work my way down. Of course, I just make sure, verify that the slide and everything's working. Now, I'm slowly going to work back down this, because it does snap in there. It's not great. There's actually, it's like a little sticky. There's still a little bit of the adhesion on it. And so that's what I try to make sure that I'm just slowly getting it all back in there. Okay, then up top, it's got these little snaps in here. It'll pop back in place. That actually went pretty smoothly. Just double checking it. I'm applying pressure, but not too much, you know. You don't want to break the screen again. Then, once I get that situated, the last part is putting this back in. It kind of goes at a little angle on the device. You'll get it over. You got to be a little careful. There's wires and stuff that come through these hinges here. And so what you'll do is you'll just kind of ease it on. Once it's over, it actually shifts back this way slightly. And you'll slowly snap this back into place. Fortunately, because we took the time on the front end to ease it off the back and all that, this came off a little bit easier. Last thing is, I will slowly put this down. I don't want to do it too quick in case something is bound up. Then I'll go around the perimeter and I'm slowly applying pressure. Oh, there we go. One of those snapped back in place. I'll also double check back here to make sure that that seam went back together well. And then the last thing is I will open up the Chromebook, and hopefully if we've done what we were supposed to do correctly, it will boot up and we'll have a good working screen. Like I said, I'm sure there's bunches of ways to do it, but this is kind of what I found works well. I'd be curious to see if there's any other tips that y'all want to leave in the comments. But yeah, overall, I think on these touch screens for sure, where you're having to deal with that black tape, the main thing is taking your time, not rushing, and that way, let me see here, we're going to do a shutdown on this rig. Boom, everything seems to be working, success. And yeah, be curious to see what y'all have to say about the process and how you all maybe do it differently. I'm always open to suggestions, but having done this for a little bit, I figured I would share, because it is very frustrating if you don't know what you're doing with that black 3M tape. So anyway, enjoy and good luck, and I'll look forward to seeing what y'all have to say. Thanks, guys. See ya.